Hey, what is up guys? In this video we're going to put the Asus TUF VG35VQ to the test. Is this the best ultra-wide 35 inches curved gaming monitor in 2020? Well, on paper it sounds very interesting. Just listen to this. We got 35 inches, ultra-wide, 21:9 aspect ratio with a resolution of 3440 by 1440. We got 100 Hz refresh rate, 1800R curved, adaptive sync with both NVIDIA G-Sync and AMD FreeSync. It's a VA panel, and we got HDR10 for $579. Wow. So after spending about 2 weeks with this one, all that I can say is that I'm blown away. So this is the first time for me ever experiencing ultra-wide 35 inches curved with HDR and 100 Hz, and it's a breathtaking experience to say the least. Now before we move any further, at any point during the video feel free to check out the links down below to the monitor. You got the latest pricing, you find everything down in the video description. But as I mentioned, this is a curved gaming monitor, 1800R, so you're getting a nice screen swooping around your face here as well, and it is really something that I have never experienced before. But yeah, let's kick this off and talk about the size, because we need to. This monitor takes up a huge portion of my desk. It's approximately 9 inches deep and 33 inches wide, or 23 centimeters deep and 84 centimeters wide, and so it's almost got the same footprint as my dual 24-inch monitor setup I had on my desk before, which is quite insane. Now, but let's talk about the screen. Visually, it looks fantastic, better than pretty much every monitor I've tested in the past. Now, throwing up an HDR supported clip here, you get a better idea of what I'm talking about. Now, keep in mind this monitor's got a peak brightness of 300 nits, and so it's really not punchy enough to give you the same brightness as a 1000 nits panel, which is what HDR is really meant for. But still, as you can see, HDR content on YouTube, for example, looks amazing. I've also been watching a few episodes of Star Wars Mandalorian in HDR as well, and some scenes do appear a bit dark, but overall I'm quite happy with how HDR performs with all the other specs in mind. The bezels on the side are very minimal with just a chin on the bottom. The monitor allows for height adjustment. We got tilting up and down and everything that you would expect, minus pivoting, which you cannot do on this one. You can also take the stand off and you can VESA mount it if you want to have it on your wall, for example. And as for input, on the back we find two HDMI 2.0 ports, we find a single display port 1.2, we got two USB 3.0 ports and a headphone jack, because this monitor does not have built-in speakers. Yeah, with that said, let's talk about the main event, the main selling point with this monitor in my opinion. I'm obviously talking about adaptive sync. So we got support here for AMD FreeSync and G-Sync, but yeah, as far as I'm aware, the monitor isn't listed under NVIDIA's compatible G-Sync monitor program, which is something to be aware of. But even though the monitor isn't listed, G-Sync can still be activated, and after been testing this for about 2 weeks now, I'm happy to report that G-Sync works very well. I have been playing a wide array of games, for example got Gears 5 and FIFA 2018 with G-Sync activated, and everything seems to work exactly as intended. Now, one thing to have in mind, in order for adaptive sync to work, HDR needs to be inactivated. I always like to run the NVIDIA G-Sync Penumbra demo every time I do this G-Sync testing. I'm not sure if the camera is able to pick it up, but through my testing at 2 times I noticed some pulsing for a few microseconds, where the monitor shifted in brightness for a few moments as the demo was rolling. This was, however, the only time I noticed any sort of flickering or issues with the adaptive sync activated. I spent over an hour in FIFA 2018 with G-Sync activated on the GTX 1660 Ti with no issues, and something that you want to be aware of is that you have to choose between adaptive sync and HDR, which is a bit unfortunate. But yeah, for gaming, adaptive sync is definitely the one you wanna pick here. Something I do wanna mention again is the resolution. So this is an ultra wide with an aspect ratio of 21:9 with a resolution of 3440 by 1440, and pretty much all game out there will support this resolution. Many movies are also made in this resolution, so you won't get those annoying black bars. However, most content on YouTube is 16:9, which will give you black bars on each side of the screen like this. This is something that you may find annoying, and it's something that you want to be aware of. When it comes to ultra-wide formats, it's about 33% more pixels compared to standard 69, which means that you're gonna need a whole lot more power to achieve the same graphics performance. And my recommendation for anyone that wanna get as much performance as possible out of the screen, you need at least the GeForce RTX 2060 or perhaps a supercard, or the Radeon RX 5700 or the 57XT. I'll link up a video down below that looks at both these cards in great details, including benchmarks, etc. If we take a look at the menu, we find a lot of settings here. Few things here I want to show you guys. We find a total of 7 predefined profiles to choose from. We got the racing one, and this is supposed to reduce the input lag. We got the MOBA preset, which enhances the colors a bit. We got the cinema profile, which enhances contrast and color saturation. We got the RTS and the RPG mode. We also got the FPS, sRGB and scenery. The main difference here, they aren't going to be too apparent, as you can see. Now in some cases it will boost the brightness in dark areas, which can be helpful in FPS shooters, for example. In general, this is definitely something that I do think that you should look into yourself and see what works best for you and your game, of course. Now, I decided to keep mine at the RTS mode, and I was pretty happy with these throughout my testing. Apart from the predefined profiles, we also find things like built-in radicals, and we also got a game timer, etc. And so this can be useful if you don't want to rely on the built-in crosshair inside the game, for example. And so you can activate this with a few buttons, and it works as you would expect, and it's a nice bonus. In terms of backlight bleed, this is something that is important and something that you should care about on a gaming monitor, because it can be extremely annoying and distracting having certain areas being brighter. Now a lot of games these days have darker elements, and so this is critical, as backlight bleed isn't something that you can, fix or adjust. Thankfully this was extremely minimal on this monitor, and I was only able to notice some bleed in the upper right side area, and if we look very carefully we can see some clouding going on here as well. But again, we're looking at 100% brightness in a completely dark room, and seriously, I didn't notice any of this when I was gaming. This is at full brightness at 300 nits. Now, this is one of VA panel's strongest assets. Black levels on the VG35VQ does not disappoint either, and the black does appear like pure darkness. Now, I tried my best to record this on screen. I'm not really sure how well the camera makes it justice on your screen, but please take my word for it. Contrast is great on this one. As a bonus, this monitor supports HDR10, and watching YouTube content with HDR looks amazing. I also been watching a few episodes of Mandalorian in 4K with HDR, but yeah, it seemed like the HDR wasn't really powerful enough to push the colors and the brightness, and everything seemed a bit dark to me, a bit dull if you like. And to make HDR content do justice, you want at least a display with 600 nits or more, and because this monitor's got a peak brightness of just 300 nits, it's not really enough to make the colors pop as much as the HDR thing was intended for. It works pretty okay for watching movies and such, but yeah, for playing games you should avoid this. But yeah, let's talk about the monitor's biggest shortcoming: ghosting. Now this is a bit expected, as we find ghosting on pretty much every VA panel out there, and there are noticeable ghosting when we're looking at dark elements in games. I'm demonstrating this in Metro Exodus. Asus partly solves this issue with the trace free technique, and having it set to 0, you can clearly see a lot of ghosting and tracing, and I found that setting this value to 80, around 80, gives you a lot less ghosting. Now some tracing is still visible, but it looks a lot more natural and a lot more even. And having this value set to 80, this is something that I'm able to live with without being too annoyed. Nonetheless, there is so many things about this monitor that I love: the screen real estate, the pixel density, the curve, the rapid response time and refresh rate, the black levels, and probably most importantly, G-Sync. Yeah, for me at least, this is one of the biggest must-have features when picking up a gaming monitor in 2020, as adaptive sync does so much for the gameplay. The smoothness and the input feels so much different having G-Sync or FreeSync activated, and after been playing with adaptive sync for the past 2 weeks, I don't see myself ever going away from it. And all of this can be yours for $579 US, which I think is an amazing price tag considering all things mentioned. It pretty much ticks all the boxes while not breaking your bank account, and so this is, in my opinion, an extremely budget-friendly monitor if you look at the market right now and what's available. With that said, there are a few cons here I want to mention. We got the ghosting, which is expected. Asus does what he can to fix it. I'm definitely okay with the results, but it's definitely something that you want to be aware of. Yeah, also there is no RGB on this one, but considering the price tag, it is a bit expected. Lastly, we got the HDR, which is a bit lackluster. The monitor also does feel a bit plastic, but yeah, in the end, for $579 this is, in my opinion, the best and probably the coolest monitor available right now at this price point. Now, if you got any questions, please let me know in the comments below. I'm gonna do my best to help you guys out. In the meantime, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Watch either of these two videos for more content. Until next time, have an awesome day, right?